Hey everyone, back with you this week. We're going to talk about breathing. And what we're going to talk about is actually four-dimensional breathing that hopefully give us some better posture, better energy, less stress, and maybe even reduce some neck pain. So when we talk about breathing, it's one thing we all tend to take for granted. We all do it, we all breathe well, we all breathe, not necessarily well though. So breathing is a skill that we do all the time, every day, but we're never taught how to do it. So if you look at how a child breathes versus a typical adult breathes, it's very different. And that's because over the course of our lives, our breathing patterns change. So when you look at breathing itself, breathing involves over 20 muscles, and on average, we take about 22,000 breaths per day. So it's very important to do well. So if we're not using all the muscles correctly to breathe well, we're not getting a full breath, and muscles that aren't working very well, because the other muscles that work harder than they have to, over the course of 20,000 breaths in the course of a day, that's a lot of extra strain on those muscles. So that's how we tend to have tight necks, bad posture, low energy, because we're not getting full oxygen exchange. So what we're going to do today is talk about what we call our four-dimensional breathing, four muscles that actually work on to give you a more full breath that you can train, better breath, better breathing, more oxygen per breath. So the first one is our main breathing muscle, is the diaphragm. So we're all familiar with the diaphragm, and where it is, how it works. The diaphragm lives at the bottom of the rib cage. It's a dome-shaped muscle that the rest of us sits here. As we inhale, it actually drops down into our abdominal cavity to make it expand to help pull the air in. So to make sure the diaphragm is working like it's supposed to, we actually can test it. So how we do this is we put one hand on the front of our rib cage, right at the bottom of the rib cage, on this called the xiphoid. The other hand's going to go behind your back on the back of the rib cage at the same level. And we're going to try to do, I'm going to go switch hands for you, this way, is inhale and try to push this front hand and back hand apart with my breath. So as I stand here nice and tall, I'm going to inhale, try to create front to back expansion with my diaphragm. If you can see, my front hand's going forward, my back hand's going backwards, and coming back in together. So the first dimension is front to back expansion. That's with the diaphragm. The second dimension is side to side, lateral expansion. And the muscle that mainly does that is what's called the serratus anterior. The serratus muscle is a shoulder stabilizer, but also lives on the rib cage. It kind of runs between the ribs like little finger-shaped muscles right through this area here. So how we find that muscle is we put our thumbs near the armpits, hands on the rib cage, create a little bit of compression, and what I'm going to do from there is actually going to inhale and try to spread my hands apart with my inhale. As I exhale, they come back together. So I'm noticing, can I spread my hands apart? And also, does one side go more than the other? Do I do more on the right side? Or are they even? So I want to find equal expansion from side to side. Okay, so that's dimension number 2, side to side lateral. Dimension number 3 is kind of a top to bottom expansion, so up and out expansion. That's going to come from your pec muscles. So the muscle we use for that is called the pectoralis minor. It sits, if you define that muscle, you go right on the ball of your shoulders and slightly in towards the middle until you feel a little bit kind of a hole here, right on the muscle belly itself. So I'm kind of expanding my chest. My fingers are on the muscle here. I'm going to inhale and try to feel my fingers being pushed up and out this direction here. This one's kind of hard to feel. So if you have problems finding one side or the other, what we can do is actually have less range of motion in your shoulders or your hands to do it. You can do one side at a time. So put both hands right here on the same shoulder. And you're going to add a diagonal, so you can see me. You're going to inhale. And try to push your hands up into the out and back in. So that's number 3. So number 3 is we have front to back. We have side to side. Number 3 is top to bottom expansion. And the fourth one is actually very important too. It's called a superior glide. So superior glide means the rib cage is actually at the top of the inhale, it's going to actually slide up to get most full expansion of the rib cage and full inhalation. So that muscle is called a serratus posterior superior. Don't need to name the muscle, but know where it is and what it does. So it sits basically back in the back of the neck. How I find that is I take my hands like little paddles. I put them on the back of my neck at diagonals, like so. I'm going to feel for the muscle there. I take my inhale, start from the bottom to the top still. And at the top of my inhale, I want to feel my hands slide up. So I'll do this from the phrase, then I'll turn around to show you. So as I slide up, I'm creating a superior glide, not a rounding forward, but actual superior glide. So I'll turn to show you. That superior glide creates this little extra inhale at the top of the upper lungs full of air. Take some pressure out of your neck muscles that typically will shrug to help you breathe. Take a nice full inhale. So we have 4 movements. We have front to back. Front to back will be here. Hand on the front of the rib cage and the back. Front to back. We have side to side. It's a lateral expansion here. We have top to bottom, up and out. So we're going to put our hands here or here. Then we have the superior glide here. Hands back to the rib cage. If this is too hard for you range of motion wise, some people it's hard to tight shoulders, you actually go into what we call a child's pose, where you're kneeling on the ground, elbows propped on an actual pad, so you're leaning forward. That way your hands can be relaxed on your shoulders and actually get a nice glide that way. So if you think about that, those are 4 muscles that are very high payoff. They give you a lot of range of motion in your breathing, but give you a nice full breath. So each time you take a breath, you're getting maximum oxygen exchange, maximum health and feeding for the tissue to give you much more energy throughout the day. If you also notice, those muscles are all attached or close to your rib cage and to your spine. Huge help for posture. Posture is a huge part of this too. And you also should notice actually less stress, because breathing is helpful for stress, and less neck tension as you do this. So give us a try. If you have questions, feel free to email us here, or give us a call at the office, and we'll see you soon.